Hey you guys, it's Denise and I am 13 weeks pregnant today. But I want to discuss things with you, especially other pregnant ladies and or women that want to get pregnant again or are trying to conceive and have had 2 to 3 C-sections. So I'm going to be sharing my journey with you guys throughout my pregnancy if I have time. I am 13 weeks pregnant and this will be, God willing, or might be my 4th C-section. I have had 3 C-sections in the past. The first C-section that I had was with my first child, and it was an emergency C-section. So with that delivery, I was rushed to the emergency room. When I was laying down on the stretcher or hospital bed and they were racing me to the room, they made me sign papers, and I remember myself saying, I better not wake up during this, and I don't want a C-section. And I had to get a C-section anyway because they said that the baby's head was stuck and or that I wasn't progressing as fast as I should. I think I was at 6 or 7 centimeters dilated, and I have been laboring all day. And so this was my first C-section, my first baby, and I was really scared to, you know, have a baby, but I definitely didn't want to have a C-section. So it was an emergency. They knocked me out, and my husband wasn't even able to be inside of the room while they were getting the baby out. He had to be on the outside of the door. I guess there was like a little square looking in. With that C-section, I stayed in the hospital for 11 days. They were suggesting that they were going to put a hole in my neck because I wasn't breathing well, when to me, I was breathing the same way the whole time. They gave me this little breathing, it's like a blue and clear thing with numbers on it, and told me to practice my breathing, which I did that every C-section as well after having the baby. So that was my craziest C-section, my first one. 11 days in the hospital, and I can't really remember everything that happened. I just know and remember my first baby, 11 days in the hospital. Came out, stomach never really went down. They didn't like tell me like, oh, cover your belly, do this, do that. Nothing opened or anything like that. So that was good. Okay, so then 5 years later, had another C-section because they said once a C-section, always a C-section. So 5 years later, had another C-section. Then 13 months later, had another C-section. So that's my 3rd C-section. And with these 2 last C-sections that I had, I was only in the hospital for 3 days, and home I went. No complications at all. I believe they used some type of glue to stitch me up or something like that, and it was basically just like a faster recovery. And now it's 7 years later and I am pregnant again. So between the 7 years, I have also had a tummy tuck. Now that I'm trying to find a doctor, it's hard for me because I have been calling around for 2 weeks, you know, in my city and surrounding cities looking for a doctor. And every time when I get someone on the phone, they ask me, you know, how many babies have you had? Were they C-sections or vaginal? And I say C-sections. And when I tell them that I've had 3 C-sections already, obviously this is going to be my 4th, they say that they can't take me. So I'm going to have to figure out, or probably drive 45 minutes to an hour away to a hospital that's going to be able to take me, because today I spoke with a nurse, I believe, and I called, and then we were going through the motions, and then she's like, oh, if you've had more than 2 C-sections, then we're not going to be able to take you. And I'm like, why? And she's like, there's a risk for mothers and babies that have had more than 2 or 3 C-sections. Now, I personally know a woman who has had 6 C-sections. She is in another state. online I've read that there's women that have had 8 and 9 C-sections, but I do see a lot of where people or women are, you know, saying like, oh, it's so much of a risk because it's a risk of the placenta implanting abnormally into the bowel or bladder, I think. So it's like a risk. So this lady told me, like, she didn't say all that. She just said that it was a risk and that I would probably need to go to Loma Linda or Arrowhead. Arrowhead is where I did have my first baby. That's the hospital that I stayed there for 11 days. I kind of really don't want to go back there just because of me having to be in the hospital for that long, and I don't really feel like the bedside manner was good at all. I want to have my baby up here where I had my last 2 children. The bedside manner was excellent, and I believe at the Loma Linda hospital you can go for a VBAC, which is like vaginal after C-section. So once I finally find a doctor, then that's when I can weigh my options, and then they can help me to figure out what's going on. Me personally, I feel like since I have had a tummy tuck in the past, which was just like 4 years ago, I am guessing that the plastic surgeon that did my tummy tuck, that he removed all of the scar tissue, because another thing that I was reading about was that, you know, it's like the problem with having so much scar tissue. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe the tummy tuck will kind of help me, like, be on my side, because maybe they got rid of the scar tissue and that will make it easier for this C-section. Because I remember a nurse told me before that she had like 5 C-sections, and that every single time she had the same doctor and he would always remove the scar tissue. So when she would have another C-section, it would be as if it was like her first C-section or something, because she didn't have any scar tissue there. So that made it easier for her, or for them, to perform the C-section. So the only reason why I would have to have another C-section is because a lot of doctors say once a C-section, always a C-section, or if I happen to have to go to a hospital that cannot perform or doesn't wish to perform, like, I don't know if you say perform, but do the VBAC. So that's just something that I have to think about. But if any of you ladies have like went through this, maybe you can comment below and give me some like suggestions, and also like this video so that way I can know like what more videos to make, and I will be updating you with any other information that I get, and or also when I find a doctor. So I'm basically gonna be on the phone all day today. Every single time I call a doctor, they, you know, the doctor's office, the wait is so long, or the phone just rings. It's just been like kind of like a little bit of a struggle, because at the same time I was trying to figure out what insurance I was gonna have, because at first I didn't have any insurance. So now I just went ahead and got on my husband's insurance, and it's just costing so much. So it's just like so much money to even have a baby. So like I'm willing to like do that, you know, pay for it, but it's just so much. And then with the stress of finding a doctor and hospital now that's gonna actually take me, it's just so much on my plate that I have to think about, that I feel like maybe, well, I don't know, because I don't talk to women like about this thing, but it just seems like other women have it so easy. Like they just get pregnant and boom, they have a doctor, and their medical insurance is bomb. And you know, I don't know, it just feels like for me it's just so hard or something. But I'm pretty sure I'm not the only woman out there struggling. And then my other obstacle is the 4th C-section thing. So hopefully all goes well and everything works out, and I will just have to pray about it and keep faith, because what else can I do? But at the same time, I am presumed to be 13 weeks from my last period, so I do want to get to a doctor soon so that way I can get checked and, you know, go through the motions so that way I can make sure that I'm doing okay and that the baby's okay and that the heartbeat is even going and this and that. Like, come on now, like, I need to really get in somewhere so I can see what's going on. So I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Bye.